famous words of Ace Ventura.
I have a package for you.
What's in the box? And look at that. Oh,
It's a bit heavy.
Jesus Christ. Do my back out. It's like the scene from Seven. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
Well, we're going to find out. But before we do, I guess we should explain why we have something here. Go and have a look down at the car and see what kind of state it's in at the moment, because certainly looking a bit stripped bare. So you can see, first of all, the dash is there's nothing there anymore. In the engine bay, there's not a hell of a lot either. So this is currently the latest model Bluetooth rotary.
Hey, what's going on? That looks like a Mazda manifold.
That is a Mazda manifold. It's a factory manifold. So what we're actually doing here is 2019. We want to update the tech everywhere here. So what we were running with before was perfectly fine. You know, really we could have changed nothing, and quite comfortably, I believe, could have run into the 8s, which is what our goal is now for the car. However, I just want the latest and greatest now for this car. I just want to keep on moving with technology. I want to move into 2019 based tech. So I know Garrett's got a brand new GT42 bigger model sort of turbo out, so we might look at doing something like that. I know Turbo Smart's got a new wastegate and stuff with some tech built into the dome of it, so you can see valve position and stuff, so we might look into changing that as well.
Looks like the engine's missing some internals.
Yeah, so we stripped the engine down, and we've actually got our housings sent out, and we're going to do what's called a semi-PP, so semi-peripheral port. So if you're unfamiliar with rotary porting or what that is, we're going to do a separate video on all the different kind of porting and outline what is a PP, semi-PP, bridge port, etc, etc. So the engine housings now are getting the semi-PP done to it. It's out South Coast Rotary Power Seals HQ at the moment, so we'll get those back shortly and whack them in. In the meantime, we are making this manifold based off with just the factory FD stuff that I've got here, because the manifold we'll be running also comes from South Coast Rotary, from Power Seals, and they make a cast manifold to take 4 injectors that already has the semi-PP cast into the bottom half of the manifold. So while we're waiting for that stuff to come down from the guys at Power Seals, at least I can still make the intercooler piping in the meantime, so it's not being held up too much, because I got this obviously off the FD, and it's all the geometry will all still be the same. So we'll get the housings back and we'll rebuild the engine. I might make some adjustments to the sump, I'm not sure. I'd like to remake the cross member maybe in chromoly, but I don't know if I'll get around to that, because I'd really like to get back to racing. But yeah, we've got a new project car coming soon. It's just behind this roller door, which we're not going to show you today. We'll show you that very shortly, bud. So what we do have is some tech in the box, and you'll see here that, like I said before, all the dash, the ECU, and all the boxes that used to be there are missing. So without further ado, let's go and see what could possibly be in this box. So, where to start?
Sounds like there's a hurricane coming, dude.
I know. It's
My car's got the windows down.
one of the unfortunate things about living amongst all the trees out here too is everything and anything, when a bit of wind comes, falls off them, and with the colorbond roof, it makes a bit of a racket. So not much I can do about that, unfortunately. Blame the possums again. Cut my way into this box. There we go. Alrighty. Just some packaging. That pretty much should say it all. Done a fair bit of work with Fueltech before, with a few of the guys there, with guys down at Dandy Engines and others. So yeah, we contacted them and just said we're looking to run the latest sort of tech. What would you recommend? What can you help out with? And they said, no problems, leave it to us. We'll send you a care package, which will get the 626 back on the road and firing, and also a couple of our new projects too. So I'm not sure what's actually in here, but it's definitely time to find out. Pretty excited, I must say. So what have we got here? Stickers. Alright, so these are their wideband controller. So pretty much this. She's really packaged really well, aren't they? It's really nice when you buy electronic stuff. Like if you buy a Samsung phone or an Apple phone or something, they come really, really well packaged. And you know, a part of buying quality consumer electronics is the way it's packaged. And this stuff, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever seen car parts packaged.
Yeah, they look like more like PC.
Yeah, like I mean, it's just really well. You spend money on stuff and it makes you feel like you've actually bought some really high-end electronics. So this is their wideband controller. So that just can go on the dash or whatever, and it'll just read your air-fuel ratio mixture. So we've got those. Also with the Fueltech, they've got closed-loop fuel tuning with so you set your target air-fuel ratio that you want. You get your tune-up close in the window, and then you can have the ECU automatically adjust the tune-up on the fly. So that is a really awesome feature. So we've got two of those there. Next thing is it says right there EGT 8 CAN module. So this is an 8 input CAN bus EGT box. So we've got EGT currently for rotor 1 and rotor 2. We'll probably put another one in the dump pipe, but also I'm a total tech nerd and I love data. I'd love to use one of these EGT ports for understanding ambient temperature. So, you know, you've got normally on an ECU you might just have air intake temperature. You don't know what the outside air temperature might be. So I could use an EGT port on here to know what the actual temperature is during the day when you've been racing. And I might use another one for pre-intercooler air temperature as well, or I may just put that in through the ECU, so I'm not sure, but the options are there. I mean, you've got eight ports there to do whatever you want with, so that's awesome. That will be going in the 626 as well. These are, it says there, peak and hold 8 amp, 2 amp ignition injector controller, sorry. So when you have really big low amp peak and hold fuel injectors, they take a lot of current and they take big drivers to drive those injectors. So sometimes one of the most common things to fail, I guess, on ECUs can be those injector drivers. So what Fueltech have done basically is beef those injector drivers up and just take them off the ECU, because obviously they're limited by being a dash and ECU all in one. They don't have infinite amount of space that some of the other ECUs. An ECU, some other ECUs might be this big and they've got more room, whereas this is also a data logging dash and ECU all in one. So what they done was made it simple that if you've got normal injectors, say like your little ID 1000s or ID 2000s, where they're a very high impedance injector, you can run those direct off the ECU. But if you've got something like Moran atomizers, or like we've got Siemens injectors where they're really low impedance, you just run these external boxes, and it just means it's all external from the ECU. So they manage the heat really well, and they drive the injectors really hard, which means you can actually probably get a bit more out of your fuel injectors through these boxes. So what might give away something too is what we might have planned for the 626 in the future, and that there's a few boxes here, which means we might be upgrading the amount of injectors on the car too. So that's awesome. We've got those. Next, this is like the never-ending box here. Yeah, just keeps on giving. So this is something I'm really excited about. So we had the Ignition 1A coils on the 626 with the E85. We found with probably some overly rich mixtures that we were starting to get some intake misfires because the mixture's just not burning enough. So with the boost levels we're starting to run, like starting to wanting to push at 30 pound or beyond, we were probably going to have to upgrade the ignition system, especially with a rotary with really heavy spark demands. I know with piston cars they can run the ignition 1A coils or even R35 coils these days, but really with a rotary you have to go CDI when you're running alcohol-based fuels and that kind of boost level. So this is Fueltech's own CDI box. So this really should help us with what we want to do. So this is the FT Spark 4, which is exactly what it says. It's a four driver CDI box. So as you can see there, 600 millijoules CDI unit. So that's a heart starter.
It's got a fair bit of grunt.
Yeah. I'm not sure you'd actually want to touch the ignition leads while this thing's firing 600 millijoules, because you might get a bit of a surprise. You notice any car with a CDI too, that they just sound different. It really transforms the way they behave, and hopefully now, no matter the amount of fuel or spark and that and boost that we throw it at the 626 now especially, it should be able to eat it up. So that's another awesome one. So we'll put that there, and I'll keep digging. What do we have here? We've got lots of sensors and stuff. So again, I mean, and the best thing about this, Fueltech obviously supply all these kind of sensors and that to get you up and running. So you need air temperature sensors and water temperature sensors. They've got everything. So this is 150 psi sensors. So you know, oil pressure, fuel pressure, things like that. Got a 300 psi one here. So that might be for, say, transmission pressure and stuff. So I've got two of those. And this is a 1500 psi pressure. And what we're going to do is actually put this on the brake line so we can understand brake pressure, because the best thing about the Fueltech 2 is it's got an inbuilt transmission, what you might call a bump box or a staging tool. So what we want to do is bring the car.
So we can finally bump in.
We can finally bump in instead of yes. I mean, we got a lot of comments at how long it sits on the trans brake sort of thing and that. But what we can do now, yeah, finally with the inbuilt in the ECU, we can come up into maybe like the first bulb up, and then bring up an exact amount of brake pressure we want, bring up an amount of RPM that we want, and then we could bump in early before the first beam. And then bump into the second beam. And it just means we'll be able to do it very consistently. And same with it if we were in the burnout box too. If you want to bring up an exact amount of brake pressure that we know we're comfortable with every single time to get repeated results. So, and the best thing about data is, yeah, it helps you just not guess and just repeat results over and over. So this is another cool one. So I'll just take this out here. So this is a drive shaft speed sensor. So this is a collar. You can see little magnets all the way around. It's got 8 magnets. And what this will do is basically give us drive shaft speed. So, and what we can do, we can essentially set a programmed amount of slip, or an acceptable amount of slip, into the Fueltech ECU, and it will then adjust how much power essentially with either cutting boost or retarding ignition time.
So it's actually like a form of traction control.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's exactly like a form of traction control. So it will help you get down any type of track. This is the wiring harness for our ECU. I don't know if it's one or both of them.
That's a nice laundry bag you got there.
That might double as like as a helmet bag or something. That's pretty nifty. So yeah, this is one part or both parts of our ECU wiring harness. So that's all terminated on one end. So all we need to do is cut the other wires to length, and they're really high quality terminals there. You can see there. That's like what we've used throughout the car already. That's Deutsch connector and his AMP one. So that's really good. Your AMP is something. Another one. So that is one of the harnesses for the other ECU we've got. So we have even more sensors here. So your common sort of Delco air temp sensor, dual solenoid boost control.
Nice boost control.
Yep. So we'll have full control over the boost here. You can see there it's got an inlet, an exhaust, the wastegate, and then it's got dual solenoid. So basically what it is, you'll put a pressure sensor. So you put one of these pressure sensors in the dome of the wastegate, and then you feed it here, feed it below, and these solenoids essentially almost fight each other to control the pressure in the gate. So generally use these with CO2 only. Out of simplicity, the reason why the car doesn't run nitrous yet either in that too, I'm going to try and set this up and get it working well without CO2 and just see how it works, preferably without it. If we need to run the CO2 to control it, we will, but just for simplicity of reasons, we'll just run it without CO2 and see how we go. So first is the all new FT550. So this will be the ECU that we run in our new project car, which you'll see more about soon. This is Fueltech's, one of Fueltech's latest ECUs. So as you can see, for people that, most people will look at this and go, oh, it's a dash or it's just a data logger. This is what is great and unique about Fueltech. This is an ECU and a dash and a data logger all in one unit. All in one unit. So you can see there's the map sensor input on the back, the two wiring loom inputs, USB for your data to get your data out onto your laptop, but it's also a touch screen, so you can run through multiple screens and actually do all the tuning and everything you need to do on the actual face of the dash here. So this would be really awesome. So
that one,
I'll leave that there, and then last but not least, here it is. This is the beast of the pack. This is the FT600. This is the top of the range ECU that Fueltech do. Let's have a bit of a look inside. So
it's actually quite. The unit itself's quite small.
Yeah, they're not. You think, I mean, for a dash and a data logger and everything, they're going to be some big bulky kind of thing, but they're not. So you get a little thing for your hotkeys. So you can put that on your keyboard when you're tuning. If you want to know all the quick keys to get through, that's great. More stickers, which are always cool. This is pretty incredible here. This is a full color manual on how every single screen works and how every little bit works. That is over 100 pages long.
That's awesome.
That is not something you normally see with products. Normally, most ECU manufacturers will have something.
Stop on one page for a sec. Yeah.
Most ECU manufacturers will have something pretty. They'll either have it online and expect you to download it and either print it yourself or just read it page by page on a computer. But I'm a little bit old school in that I really like printed guides and I like printed wiring diagrams and I like actually holding something in my hand. I miss the days of the trading post, getting the trading post on Thursdays and reading through it and looking at cars and that to buy, and that something's lost about it all being on the internet these days. So this is incredible. I haven't seen something this comprehensive and this detailed and just great to read and look through in a long time. So definitely be reading through that later. Here's the
so this is the actual ECU.
Yeah, this is the real jewel in the crown here. And that's it. So, I mean, you can see if I hold my hand up, it's
not that big at all.
It's like half a hand's width. Yeah, so you've got shift lights, which you can, I mean, that's like an RPM, and then they'll flash for shift. Warning lights for, might have overboost or over temperature or this kind of stuff. So your harnesses plug in the back. Your map sensor, so it's inbuilt, I think 7 bar, I think it was. So really, I mean, there's basically no need for an external map sensor for most races. I mean, the 7 bar's huge. Yeah, I'm going to peel that off. And again, really well packaged. You can see they've spent so much time in knowing that people are spending great money in these products, and when they open it, they want to know that they've bought something that's
pure quality,
that the company's really proud of too. Like, I mean, it's just great. The whole lot of it's just really thoroughly impressive. I'm really excited to put that in the car. One of the best things.
You're like a kid in a candy shop, mate.
I am. It's great. I mean, the thing I love about this too, and then I just saw the guys today have released another software update, so that this is a great expandability about this system. So I mean, obviously it's always had a flex fuel sensor and they've now put full flex fuel tuning with over something like 5 or 6 screens. So it's totally all 3D, which is great because especially for our new project car, might be running on both pump and E85, which means now we can, the Fueltech's just expandable. So I mean, you never know what they're going to come out with next. They just keep on expanding stuff. One of the really cool features that I just saw was also a simulated staging tool and a drag racing tree tool. So I could actually set up the bump button and the trans brake button in the 626, press something on the screen, and it will bring up a simulated tree where I can practice bumping into stage and then leaving depending on if it might be a pro tree or a standard tree. Which is really cool too. It builds your ability on being a better racer. So this product is really designed with drag racers in mind. You can see that drag racers have had a lot of input on this ECU, and it's by far and away one of the most powerful drag racing ECUs in the market today. So really pumped to get in the car, and we're going to be really excited to show you what this ECU can do and show you through it. We're going to have walkthroughs on how to set it up, how to wire it, how to set up screens, how to tune with it. So if you want to know more about Fueltech, just keep on watching and we'll have plenty of Fueltech content coming up. So that's the first sticker we've got in Project Redline Mark II. Last time we had, you saw the progress. We had all the stickers from all the people that supported our build up here. So that's the first for Project Redline Mark II. And this is the big tower of power that we've got to put in the car. So there's a fair bit of work ahead of us, but it's stuff that I love doing. I love all this wiring and.
So the real reason the engine's out is because you're going to put in a RX-8 engine.
How do I pronounce it? Renesis. What did we say? Renesis. How much hate did we cop over that?
Oh yeah.
I think you said Renesis, and I just wasn't even paying attention. I think I said it too, even though I've worked on them for that many years now. No, I wouldn't even put an RX-8 engine in an RX-8. So all that's got to find its way back in that. This will find its way in its new project car, which once we get started on a bit of that, we'll just got to button away a few things with some suppliers over some things first and work out what we're going to do. But looking forward to building that and showing you guys everything in that as well. So that'll be pretty cool build up.
We've sort of got 2 project cars on the go at once. Yeah,
well, I've got 2 project cars. You've got multiple project cars as well. Geordie's got his thing that never seems to run, and then I've got a new daily driver which we might do a bit of work on in the future as well. Which some Alice Power finally on the Full Boost channel.
In a limiter action,
yeah. All right, be good. As they say, hashtag Fueltech everywhere.
Turbo looks familiar.
The old GTX 42 1.01 rear. So this is an old series Garrett Turbo. They now have this in a much more same size front wheel and rear wheel. I think they might even have a stainless rear housing there with a V-band. But they've got a much more compact version of it. But they've also got this has got a 76mm front wheel. They've now got a version I think's got an 83mm front wheel that they call the GT42-1450. So I've really got my eye on that because with the semi PP, the new Fueltech ECU and that, this this will more than make the power we need anyway. But bigger's always better. So why not?